today we're talking more about INTJs in the Myers-Briggs system. So I'll give you a big picture overview of what this looks like. We'll talk about 3 things that INTJs can do to kind of activate their own magic, as well as a stretch opportunity, and then 3 things that coworkers or loved ones of INTJs can do to support them. So first we'll talk with a big picture overview. So INTJs are what we call the strategic architect. That I means that in Myers-Briggs system, they're introverted. So I would say battery powered. So they need to recharge on their own. Just like if you think about handedness, like we've got a dominant hand for how we write, but we can use that non-dominant hand to write and do other things as well. It's just not quite as comfortable. So that means that all of us can do anything we want to. INTJs or any introverts can be leaders. They can talk. They can give a TED talk. They can give a presentation. They can coach, whatever it is that they want to do. But when they expend a lot of that energy in the external world, they need time to recharge on their own. So as coworkers and loved ones, like, don't be offended if your introverted colleagues and coworkers and loved ones need to go on their own to recharge. That's just a really important feature of their lives and how they kind of can stay sane. So that is one thing that we talk about is introverts are battery powered. They also often think through their thoughts rather than talking them out. The second letter in INTJ's profile is intuition. So very big picture thinkers, what could be, really lights them up, very future oriented and focus on the future as well. They love to kind of dream and wonder. That third letter in Myers-Briggs system is T for thinking. So of course we all think, we all feel. This is just thinking about how do we prefer to make decisions when we're at our best. We can make decisions both ways, but people with a T preference prefer to make decisions based on logic and ideas. They kind of want to step out of that situation that they're considering and create a precedent that could be the same for all future situations. And then the last letter of the INTJ in the Myers-Briggs system is J for judging. And so it does not mean that they're judgmental. It means they look at the environment as decisions to be made rather than options to be explored. And so that closure is something they really want to drive towards, like want to get some closure there. So core traits of INTJs are they're visionary, they're very analytical. So that NT in the middle means they're very analytical, big picture, wondering like, what can they do about these various ideas that are important to them? And they're very independent. Do not forget that INTJs are independent. And so some workplace strengths that may show up are strategic thinking, very long-term planning, very long-term vision focus. They can pull a lot of ideas together that other folks might not pull together. Do a great job there. And they like problem solving. They really like to focus on big picture, long-term problem solving. So those are your folks to turn to, as among others, but these are definitely folks to turn to for long-term strategic thinking, visioning, problem solving. Potentially based on their behavior and communication styles, some folks who are famous and might be INTJs are Michelle Obama, Colin Powell, and Christopher Nolan, the director. So who knows, but that's what we're down thinking based on their communication. So here are 3 tips if you're an INTJ to be able to bring your magic out. So first, to perform at your best, make sure that you carve out solo thinking time. So again, for introverts, you really need and crave that thinking time. For INTJs to plan out, like, what are your big picture ideas? What are these things that you're bringing together? What are your strategies? Mapping out that vision. So make sure you build in time for that so you have that time to really drive your vision. A second tip for INTJs is to set long-term goals. So you're very future focused. Big picture planning helps you motivated to think about, like, go ahead and put those long-term goals on the map and start working out towards those. And then a third tip for INTJs is to trust your insight. So again, you're really good at pattern recognition. You're probably really good at pattern recognition. And that could be a really big gift to you. So use that insight to guide your decision making. Really trust that instinct that you have. All right, for a stretch opportunity for INTJs, make sure that you don't overlook the emotional dynamics. Even though it might not be your favorite thing to talk about or to dig into, emotions are really important. You have emotions, your coworkers, your colleagues, your loved ones do. And so still, trust yourself to tune into team relationships so you can strengthen your influence to be able to get those long-term plans in motion. That collaboration within a team is something that can really help you build out your vision alongside other folks. So try to stretch yourself and do that. If you're a coworker, colleague, loved one of a INTJ, here are 3 tips to be able to support them to kind of be energized and engaged. So one is to be efficient. Make sure you have an agenda and you stick to that agenda and get to the point. INTJs really respect competence and preparation. And so that's just one way to show it. Make sure you have an agenda, you stick to that agenda, you kind of tell them directly what you're working on, and you can work on it together. A second tip to support INTJs at work and to collaborate with them really well is to invite their input early. They really, again, love to do problem solving, long-term visioning, thinking about, okay, what are the pros and cons? What might happen? What might go wrong? They might be really great at understanding, like, oh, this could go wrong in this plan. So try to get their input early so that you can help them shape what that looks like. And then a third is respect their independence. So INTJs are typically very independent. Hate micromanaging, which a lot of us do. So try to like help them get long-term goals and know where you're going, but allow them to be autonomous in the way that they work together and be clear about, hey, here are the benchmarks that we're going to work on along the way, but give them some freedom to really use their strengths. If you are a fan of DISC, D-I-S-C, it's also based on the work of Carl Jung, just like the Myers-Briggs system is. Here's an overlap between Myers-Briggs and DISC when we're thinking about INTJs. So INTJs often express high C, conscientious behavior, very analytical, focused, and then potentially high D or dominance behavior, very outcome driven as well. So really focused on outcomes, ideas, logic, things we're working towards together. And so they can be motivated by logic, clarity, and mastery of whatever they're working on. So those are some tips that we have. I hope it helped you out. We love to work on big picture planning. We love to work on group coaching and individual coaching. So if you're interested to learn more about your Myers-Briggs type or colleagues, please reach out www.kjconsultinggroup.com. Thank you.